If you're considering making a move here to Kitchener, Ontario, you're gonna wanna watch this video. We're gonna go through a lot of neighborhoods in this video, give you a brief overview of them, the pros and cons, the traffic times within the city, the bottlenecks and where they can occur, and much more. Let's get right into the video here. We're gonna go to my map here on the screen. This here is Kitchener, Ontario, located about an hour west of Toronto. Let's look at the traffic real quickly here. So this is a general map right here. We're looking at 4:45 p.m. on a typical Monday, so rush hour traffic. This is gonna be peak times right now. So as we can see from the map here, the yellow areas that are shaded, that is going to be areas in which we're going to encounter slowdowns. Not exactly stops like you will find here in the north end of Waterloo, but slowdowns. Now, the great thing about living in Kitchener, in fact, is the minimal traffic that we see on a daily basis. I myself lived here my entire life in the city of Kitchener. I take it for granted how easy it is to get around the city compared to other cities within Ontario. So if you are looking at moving out of the GTA, you probably have a few options that you're looking at in terms of the actual traffic time. Let's take a look right now. Guelph, not too bad again, but it is a smaller city. Hamilton, lots of traffic. Burlington, Oakville, especially down here on the 403, that there's quite a bit of bottlenecks that can occur at that point. Toronto, of course, there's nothing really to be said about Toronto. It's actually quite bad. And another area that a lot of people are looking at when they are leaving Toronto is London, Ontario. And one thing to note about London is it does not have an expressway like Kitchener-Waterloo does. London, if we zoom in on the map here, a lot of yellow, a lot of red. There's going to be a substantial amount of slowdown. You know, going from the west end of London to the east end of London could take a long time, unlike in Kitchener, Waterloo. Heading back to Kitchener now, let's dive in, show you exactly where these bottlenecks occur and what you have to be cognizant of. Let's start close to the highway here. And for the most part, it's pretty good. They are widening this section through here. So this traffic through here, I would assume in the future, once that is done, everything is fully opened up, I think we're going to see a lot less traffic in this area. I know when they did widen the lanes through Cambridge, absolutely fantastic. We went from 6 lanes, 3 and 3, to 10 lanes, absolute breeze getting to Toronto now, or Pearson International Airport. Heading back to the map, for the most part, pretty easy going through the eastern part of Kitchener. Now, if we take a look here, this is Fairview Park Mall. I'll highlight here on the map right here, especially during the holiday season. Now that we're in the month of December, almost approaching Christmas, you're going to get a lot of traffic here on Fairway. Another thing to take note, and I think it's either a little bit dangerous in terms of the actual layout of the city, is let's say you are getting on here on the expressway and you want to get off on King Street, right? So you're going from Fairway. Actually, you're going King Street to King Street. It's another interesting topic, but I'll leave that for another day. So you're going from King Street here and you want to get off here, or you're heading to the expressway, or you're heading to the west down Highway 8. You're going to have to go 1, 2, 3 lanes over to the left in a very short distance. So please be careful, be watchful. And this lane, second from the left, usually backs up quite a bit. And that's going to be the one that, of course, goes through Highway 8, does this loop here. So please be cognizant of that. Make sure to check the left shoulder as you are moving into that second from the left lane. Moving on, in terms of Kitchener, not too bad for the most part. Really, I mean, this used to be a bit of a problem down here through Fisher-Hallman, but now that they've placed roundabouts, they've widened the roads, complete breeze. That was a bit of a slowdown in the past. That's opened up quite a bit. And then, you know, typical traffic through the expressway approaching Waterloo, you do get a little bit more traffic than you do here in Kitchener. Now let's take a look at here at the neighborhoods. We're going to start on the eastern side of Kitchener. And if you're familiar with the average city within Canada or within North America, for example, the eastern side of the city tends to be lower income than the western side of the city. But when it comes to Kitchener-Waterloo, that is not the rule. Unlike London, you've probably heard east of Adelaide is basically just stay away from there, more crime, lower incomes, and then of course you have nicer places like Byron on the western side. Kitchener and Waterloo is unlike that due to basically the migration patterns and the way that this was developed back in the day is unlike most cities within Canada. So pay particular attention in this video to each and every neighborhood. Let's start off here on the northeastern side. We're going to go to Bridgeport North. Bridgeport North is a fairly new subdivision. We're talking the majority of homes being built between 2000 and 2021. Majority of that being the late 2010s. Gorgeous homes, a really nice neighborhood. And the benefit of living in this neighborhood, you're close to the expressway here in Bridgeport, and you are close to the Grand River as well. And for the most part, no traffic in this area. If you are living in Bridgeport North, a lot of times you'll be heading to Waterloo for shopping, for a night out. Reason being is geographically, you are closer to Conestoga Mall, you are closer to Uptown Waterloo than you are to downtown Kitchener, than you are to Fairview Park Mall. And that's going to be a general rule for 3 neighborhoods here: Bridgeport North, Bridgeport here on the eastern side, and Bridgeport West. Heading back to the map here, we're going to go south. This is Bridgeport. Now, Bridgeport is an interesting area to say the least. Reason being is it's the only neighborhood within Kitchener that's actually on the eastern side of Grand River. Everything else would be on the western side of Grand River. Now, what's the problem with that per se? We obviously have a body of water and cars do not drive over water as of yet. So when we're talking about getting into this neighborhood and accessing the rest of Kitchener, we're going to pay particular attention because this entire population here needs to traverse Bridge Street in order to access Waterloo, in order to access Kitchener. So it's a bit out of the way. I think property prices in this area a little bit lower. The reason being is it's interesting. It's industrial. It feels like you're out in the rural areas. I mean, just take a look at the map here. If we look at Bridgeport, you'll see the basically lots of the residential areas. And then, of course, you do have industrial land here. You do have more industrial land here and a church. You have industrial land here. So it is a bit of a mishmash between residential areas and commercial areas. So that's one thing to really take note of in this case is how unique Bridgeport is. And one of the drawbacks being that you'll have to go take the Bridge Street in order to access Kitchener and Waterloo. Heading back to the map here, we'll go back. Bridgeport West, really like this area. Reason being is multiple entrances and exits to the city of Waterloo, to the city of Kitchener, to the expressway. The general neighborhood, higher incomes than most within Kitchener. I believe for this neighborhood, we're around $135,000 for the median household income. Kitchener itself is around 105. And Waterloo is around 128,000. And in this neighborhood, you're going to find homes in general anywhere from the 1970s through the 1990s. The 1990s will be here, a little bit newer on this side. And then the 1970s basically on this side here. Pretty nice neighborhood. I don't think you're paying a premium to be here. One to look at, definitely, if you are considering a move to Kitchener, is Bridgeport West. Moving on south here, we're going to go to the North Ward. Won't spend too much time on this. Reason being, we'll go back to the satellite map. This, for the most part, is completely industrial. So you don't really have to worry about this in terms of finding a home in there because there aren't any. Now, let's head over just west of Northward is a residential area called Fairfield. Again, close to the expressway. A common theme in this video is if you are living on the eastern side of Kitchener, you're much closer to the expressway than you are typically on the western side of Kitchener. Now, looking down at the map here, really nice area. In particular, I really like the northern side. If you're north of Union Street, this area, absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, lots of trees, lots of nature. These streets in particular here, really nice, well-kept homes. Not too many things go on the market in that neighborhood. And you do have a bit of an incline within that area. There's a lot of terrain, really, really nice. And for the most part in this area, you're going to find homes built primarily 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, primarily in the middle there, the 1950s. If you are looking to purchase a home in this neighborhood, really be cognizant of what the foundation is. A lot of them are poured concrete. Some of them are concrete block. Concrete block can be very porous than a poured concrete foundation. We'll combine the next two areas, pretty small neighborhoods for the most part. That's going to be Mount Hope on the map here, as well as Civic Center. Pretty cool areas, a lot of new development happening within here, a lot of new turnover, a lot of infill projects going on. So we're having homes that were built primarily in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. They're being torn down and they're putting up, semi-detached homes there, or they're putting up two individual homes side by side or fourplexes. Really nice, really cool. A lot of interesting stuff going on in Mount Hope. You do have a interesting area here, a massive development here of condominiums as well as townhomes. Very interesting. You're close to the Kitchener Go, which is nice and close. If you are going to Toronto and you don't want to take a car necessarily, you can hop on the GO train, and that's going to take you about an hour and a half to Union Station. And there's multiple trips per day, both in the morning and evening during the week. So Mount Hope here on the western side, and then Civic Center here on the eastern side, pretty close to downtown. You're along Victoria Street. One thing to know, unfortunately, about this neighborhood is the homeless encampment. Now, of course, we don't like to talk about negative things on this channel, but it's one thing to be cognizant of. There's a homeless encampment here. Not too many in Kitchener, but that is one. Let's head towards Cherry Hill and Midtown. That's going to be just west here. We're going to go back to the map here and show you exactly Kitchener, kind of where the borders are. And it's quite interesting. Even on Google Maps, they don't quite know. I mean, Sun Life is half in Kitchener, half in Waterloo. That's pretty interesting. But it's somewhere within this area. I believe it's Union Street East and Union Boulevard. That's the actual border. But Midtown is a very interesting location, right? So Midtown, if you're not familiar with the area, this up here in the northern side, this is uptown Waterloo. It's in the northern side. This is downtown Kitchener. And this area here, kind of between Union and Victoria, this is going to be your Midtown location. There's the Midtown Lofts. There's Station Park here in the south. I've had a client purchase in there, somebody lease in there. Pretty cool development. They do have a bowling alley in the communal area at the bottom. Really cool development. One of the largest towers going up currently. Not right now, but the fourth tower that will be in that location will be one of the tallest towers within Kitchener. So very cool, very trendy. You are close to everything in downtown Kitchener. You are close to the LRT. You are actually on the LRT. So there's going to be a ton of development happening in this area in the future. And there might be some great plays in terms of investment opportunities for the long haul if you want to pick up some properties. I do think the land values will increase over time due to the fact that you are on the LRT. There's a huge push for densification, not only within Kitchener, but in Canada on the whole. We're going to zoom back out, take you back to the satellite map here. We're going to go just east, Central Frederick, very cool area, and the auditorium. They're side by side right here. I'll highlight it here on the map. Here it is, Central Frederick and the auditorium. Very cool locations. I like both. Auditorium, I think I like a little bit more. You are closer to the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium for the local Kitchener Rangers. That's the OHL team. So if you want to get a similar experience to the Toronto Maple Leafs for a tenth of the price, definitely Kitchener Rangers will be a great option for you. When it comes to homes within this area, I think there's some great value. I don't think you're necessarily paying a premium in this neighborhood unless you are on the more desirable streets within the auditorium, which we will get to later. But in general, you are looking at homes detached between the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Most of them will be kind of in that late 1950s area. If you are on the southern side though here, you're going to be looking more at the 1930s on the most part. As you progress further towards the expressway, you are looking primarily 50s and 60s. In the late 50s and the 60s, we're getting away from block foundation to poured concrete foundation. You're getting the wider lots. You're avoiding a lot of the era in which there wasn't a lot of money to be quite frank with you. You had World War II, you had the Great Depression, you had World War I through the 1910s, all the way up to about 1950. Things started to get a lot better within the Western world. In terms of these nicer streets, there's quite a few nice streets within Auditorium. 1930s, 1940s builds, and that's going to be kind of in this section here. Pandora, Simeon, Cameron, right in this location here. Really cool, beautiful homes, and you are paying a little bit of a premium, but it's a really nice location. Just drive through there. They got some beautiful older homes in that neighborhood. You're probably thinking at this point, Kevin, why haven't you highlighted downtown Kitchener? Well, in this particular video, we're just going to look at the eastern side of the Kitchener. Kitchener is a fairly large city. We've recently surpassed 300,000 people, so I won't pay particular attention to downtown Kitchener. We'll make a separate video on that. If you want to be notified when that video comes out, click the like button and subscribe. Heading back to the map here, we're going to go east towards Eastwood. Eastwood, the benefit is you are close to the expressway. You have not only one, but two entrances and exits. But for the most part, it's kind of bottom 40% in terms of where the neighborhoods are on the totem pole. Not the nicest neighborhood, not the worst neighborhood. And one thing to be cognizant of is you do have the King Street Shelter, which is over here in this location here. Just one thing to note. Benefit though is you are close to Rockaway Gardens, which is really nice. A lot of people do take wedding photos within this area. You can spend some time with the family walking around the well manicured landscaping. And you are close to Rockaway Golf Course as well. Really cool golf course right in the center of Kitchener. Heading on to the next neighborhood here, we're going to look at Rosemount and Heritage Park. I've combined these two together. We'll highlight it here on the map. Reason why I've highlighted these two together is they're fairly similar, built around the same time. We're talking about homes built 1960s, 1970s. You have a lot of green space right in the middle, right in the heart of both neighborhoods. Beautiful homes primarily built in the 60s. As you get closer to Victoria Street, you're going to look at things kind of in the 40s and 50s, but for the most part, you're looking at late 60s, early 70s, great construction quality builds. You don't have to worry about block foundations for the most part. Of course, always check the listing and always check the basement to see exactly, is this a block or is this a poured concrete? But for most part, it will be poured concrete. You are close to the expressway here and here. You are close to Stanley Park Mall, which is down in this area here, and you're relatively close to Fairview Park Mall, the largest mall within the city of Kitchener. And this one made my best neighborhoods here in the city of Kitchener. You can watch that video right now. Heading on north here, Grand River North. Now that's kind of a big brother to Heritage Park. Very similar vibe, newer homes on the most part than the 1960s. We're talking majority of homes built in the 80s and 90s. And that's going to be in this area here, south of Lackner. We can basically just say 80s. In this area here, we can say 90s. And there's a new subdivision coming in right here. They're still building in this area, which are brand new homes. Another benefit is you are close to Victoria Street in this area here. And I don't really think you're paying a premium to be in Grand River North. All right, heading on south, we're going to Grand River South. The benefit of living in this neighborhood is you are close to the Waterloo Region International Airport. They do have flights, domestic and international, especially going to the US. You can fly to Orlando as well as Fort Lauderdale or Miami. And the nice thing too, as well, is you are surrounded by the Grand River. So you have a lot of trails, a lot of nature in this area. You have the benefit of knowing that, okay, in the future, this area here, this green space, most likely will not be developed. Reason being is it's GRCA controlled. So there is wetlands in this area. You won't be able to build in the future. So if you are backing on here or here or here, you have the benefit of knowing you're not going to have rear neighbors. The only downside to this neighborhood is the airport. The reason being is it's going to be quite noisy. You are right in the path of the landing flights. So you have this runway. This is the main runway here. And of course, if we extend that here, you're going to get air traffic noise. As that airport becomes more popular as they start to increase more flights per day. And, 20, 30 years from now, when this becomes a fairly popular airport, and as the cities continue to grow, this isn't going to get any quieter. One thing to definitely note, the schools in this neighborhood are quite good. We're talking St. John Paul. The second, I believe, has a rating of 8.1. And then you have Lackner Woods, which is on the western side here, which I believe has a rating of 7.6. In general, newer homes, we're talking 2010s to early 2020s. I can't believe I'm saying that. That's now an era, the early 2020s. These last 5 years have absolutely flown by. If you think they've flown by, click the like button, because for me, I mean, where did 2020 go? That was yesterday. Heading on to the western side here, this is Idlewood. Now, Idlewood, my favorite neighborhood within Kitchener for raising a family. I think you score rather highly in terms of selection of school, proximity to the 401, proximity to the Fairview Park Mall, proximity to the expressway, the general amount of nature within this neighborhood, how well manicured the lawns and landscaping is in here, the build quality of the area in general. The lot sizes are quite nice. You have a multitude of benefits, and it's rather secluded within the city. I think a lot of people overlook this area. You're finding homes primarily built late 80s, early 90s, so you're getting a lot of the old lumber. You're getting a lot of new conveniences that you would find, in the newer homes. And then, of course, you're getting the wider lots again. You're getting the 60-foot wide. You're getting the 50s. You're getting, in some cases, 70-foot wide lots. And you're getting bungalows. You're getting 2 stories. So you have a really nice variety of homes in this area. Really like this neighborhood. I can't stress enough. If you're looking at that $1 million mark plus, and you don't mind paying a premium to enjoy what this area has to offer, I think this is an excellent neighborhood. You still can find things under that 1 million, but there are few and far between. Heading over here to Stanley Park, again, nice and close to the expressway, nice and close to Fairview Park Mall. And this area in particular is one area I get asked about a lot on this YouTube channel is, what do you think about Stanley Park? It's a mixed bag of emotions. I think there's some absolutely fantastic areas within Stanley Park. And I think there's some areas that, is much similar to Centerville, Chicopee, which is here on the eastern side. Not the greatest neighborhood. If we take a really good look here at Stanley Park, I think in the south here, closer to Wilford, Ross, it's not as nice as if you were in the northern half. But then again, you have beautiful streets here on the eastern side, just east of Franklin, which Franklin really isn't the nicest street per se. But this area right here, absolutely stunning homes and really secluded, wide lots, a really nice sense of community in this particular area here, just off of Franklin Street. We're talking Idlewood Drive. And then, of course, you have the benefit of being totally right around beautiful green space. And some people like living by a cemetery, some people hate it. And another thing to look at too, Rennie Drive is nice, Bradley's nice, Dooley's nice, Penrose is nice. On the majority, the whole part, it's a pretty nice area. To be perfectly frank with you, the only thing is, southern side here of Franklin towards Weber Street East, not quite as nice, right? All right, let's head over to Centerville, Chicopee, and Google has combined these two. I don't like to do that. I think there's a big difference between being in Centerville and being in Chicopee. They are pretty much distinct from each other. So let's highlight here Centerville, right? It's going to be this area here. Google's done a pretty good job of highlighting it. And that's going to be this area here. And I would even include kind of the streets here. So this right here, this is going to be your Centerville. And on the whole, this area has gotten much better than what it used to be. There was a bit more crime in this area, but I think with the new developments going on here close to the expressway here, it is getting much better for the most part. And in general, you're going to find homes built 1960s, 1970s. All right, let's head on back to the map here. I'll show you the area of Chicopee. Now, that's going to be Fairway Road North, down through River, through this way here, and borders the Grand River. Now, the benefit of this neighborhood is you are close to the expressway here. So you can get entrance here, which will then take you nice and quickly to Highway 401. You are on the border of Cambridge as well, so you can head into Cambridge if you'd like. You are close to Fairview Park Mall, the largest mall within the city. So it's a pretty good location when it comes to commuting, when it comes to getting to all of the popular locations, as well as you are relatively close to Costco, about, I would say, 8-minute drive, and that's going to be here on the southeastern side. Now, another thing to note in this neighborhood is, on the whole, very nice neighborhood. You have a lot of elevation, right? Especially on this eastern side with Morrison Park. Really nice, beautiful homes. For the most part, 1980s, 1990s. So you're getting a little bit newer homes in there. Some stuff in the 2000s as well. And you are close to Chicopee Ski Hill. And when it is snowing, I think this year we're actually going to get a very harsh winter, which is good for the ski slope. If you are a outdoorsy person during the wintertime, you like skiing or snowboarding, then Chicopee Park might be on your list. Heading on to the next neighborhood here, and this is going to be Vanier and Kingsdale. Highlighted on the map here. I will draw the borders for you. Now, is it my favorite neighborhood in the world? Definitely not. I think it's one of the worst neighborhoods here. The amount of crime is a little higher than most. I think the closer you get to Fairview Park Mall, which is this location, as well as there's a lot of businesses here as well, the worse off it is. I think you're going to get a little bit more crime, a little bit more lower income. As you kind of proceed towards this way here, on the western side, much closer to the average neighborhood here within Kitchener. Heading on to the next neighborhood here, that's going to be Hidden Valley. Now, Hidden Valley is the most prestigious, the most beautiful, the most luxurious neighborhood probably within the Waterloo region, as well as Kitchener. If you have a budget of over $2 million, then this can definitely be an option for you. Now, heading over to the next neighborhood here, this is going to be Pioneer Tower West. I've met a lot of people through YouTube, and this neighborhood is one of their favorites. I've shown a lot of people this neighborhood in particular. Reason being is you're close to a lot of shopping in this area. On the northern side here, you do have the only Costco within Kitchener here. You do have multiple restaurants. Then you have the benefit too of being along the Grand River. So if you do like seeing a body of water, you do like walking around the Grand River, you certainly can. You do have kind of two distinct areas here. You have the newer side of Pioneer Tower West, a little bit more expensive, but again, the average household income in this neighborhood here, we're looking on the lower end around $300,000 to about $400,000. So if you are within that price range, I would say on the western side, you're looking 1.3-ish, 1.4-ish for a house. On the eastern side, if we exclude this area here, really nice area, this you're going to be 1.4, 1.5, a little bit older, but that's an interesting area. But this area here in particular, closer to King Street, that's going to be 1.1. You can find a house in there. So there's some excellent value. The houses are obviously going to be a little bit smaller than, of course, on the western side. You are close to the golf course, which is Deer Ridge Golf Club. And then you do have multiple paths through here and a lot of green space that probably will never be developed. And on top of everything, you're close to Highway 401. You're basically the closest neighborhood to Toronto. So if you are a commuter, if you do have some money to spend on a home, obviously more than the average house here in Kitchener, then I think Deer Ridge or Pioneer Tower West is an excellent option. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and you might like this video coming up next.